let's start with the man of the hour, Stan Smith. Look at this. Look, can I just also point out, look at this incredible Gucci Adidas suit. Can we take a second here? That is incredible. Danny Lee, the director. Where's Danny? He's in the restroom. Okay, we're gonna, can someone, oh, there he is. All right. Danny, come on up. Grab one of those microphones if you would, please. Producer Phil Byron. Producer of the film, Phil Byron. And then you're gonna have to share microphones because I'm afraid I'm fresh out. But we also have joining us from Complex's sneaker shopping, Joe Puma. Hey, sir, nice to meet you. Thank you so much for being with us. And, of course, founding member of Run DMC,
yes,
Darryl McDaniels. Thank you, guys. Thank you all so much for being here. We've got a few minutes, so let's start with you, Stan. You're the man of the hour. My wife and I, the thing, when we saw the film over the weekend, the thing that was most striking to us was you have this incredible knack of forging incredible partnerships, right? You have this on and off court partnership with Arthur Ashe. You have this incredible partnership with Adidas. You have this long and beautiful marriage to your wife, Margie, who I know is here somewhere. Where is she? Woo! And also co-star of the film. So tell me a little bit about how you go about finding and forging these important partnerships and what they mean to you in your life.
Well, I think it's a matter of sort of self-respect, or not just self-respect, but mutual respect for other people. You know, and looking at the positive things of everybody that you have, to respect people no matter what their background is and what they've come out of, and to appreciate, you know, those things that they can bring to the table. And I think I've been fortunate, you know, Mark is here as well, and you know, Donald Dell, and just take a hand to Mark.
Mark Matabane is here.
Mark.
We saw Mark. Yeah, go ahead, stand up, Mark.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us tonight.
Been 45 years with him, and Donald Dell is here as well. Where's Donald?
Oh, yeah. I did see Donald earlier.
More importantly, Carol, his wife, and then his two daughters, Christina and Alexandra. I think Christina's here. Alexandra's sick, but also Sea Pines Resort. I've been there with them for 50 years, and so it's and we have a company. Gary Niebuhr's been my partner. We've had our group here, our little team, for 30 years, and so it's been. I think you judge people by the people you're with, and I've been fortunate to have some great people around me for many, many years.
You keep good company, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the first things we hear from you in the film is you are instructing people at the academy. It's young tennis players. You're telling them the very first line. You say, "Hit with purpose. Make every move with purpose." And I think very few people are lucky enough to say that they have found their purpose in life. Would you count yourself as one of those people? And if so, what would you say that it is?
Well, I try to encourage the kids. You know, today it's tougher than ever to grow up and to develop, and what I try to do is encourage them as much as possible. But my purpose really has been to try to lead the life and get the most out of my talents that God's given me over the years. And I've been able to be in several different arenas, whether it's tennis, or it's the ATP, or it's the International Tennis Hall of Fame, or it's our academy that we have, or it's our company that we have, to try to make the most out of those opportunities that I have been given over the years.
Wonderful. I see we have some chairs coming up, so maybe let's take a second and we'll get a little bit more comfortable here. I've got some more questions for you and for everyone else up here as well. Thank you, Phil. Thank you. Joe, why don't you sit here? Yep.
Go ahead. I'm good.
No. Come on. You're the guest of honor here. Come on. Unless you don't want to mess up the nice threads. I understand that. Phil, you take that one. I'll take the next one. Stan, I read an interview from a few years ago that you did, I think with an Adidas website or something like that. You said there were three main ideals that you think people should live by if they want to be successful. Thank you very much. Commitment, preparation, and perspective. Do you remember this?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
So I think commitment and preparation we can understand, but tell me a little bit more about finding perspective. You said this interesting thing in the interview where you're pretty sure that if you had focused just on tennis, you would not have been as successful. You spent a lot of time focusing on your faith and your family and all these other important aspects of your life. So tell me a little bit more about having perspective and how that's important.
Well, one thing about tennis is that at a draw like the U.S. Open, you have 128 players, only one player wins. 127 players lose every week in the men's and the women's. And that happens whether it's a 64 draw, a 32 draw. And so you learn to lose, you know, and Stan Wawrinka, another Stan he's won 3 titles, but he has tattooed on his arm, says, ever try, ever fail, no matter, try again, fail better. And so I failed a lot over the years and made a lot of mistakes. But I realized that you have the perspective that you can continue and move on, make some changes, and hopefully make something with your life.
I love that. Learn to fail.
Learn to fail.
Basically it. That's some pretty good perspective.
Well, you know, Churchill also said, you know, success is the ability to fail again without the loss of enthusiasm.
Oh.
And so I've had some enthusiasm over the years and everything I've done, and I've had some great friends that have helped me along the way. And of course, my faith has helped me in times when I really struggle.
I love that. Thank you. Danny, I have a question for you. When you are approaching a project like this with a subject who is as well-rounded and likable and cool as Stan is, tell me a little bit about what goes into building that story. When you hear Stan's life story, how do you then take a step back and say, okay, how are we actually going to build this into a 93-minute arc?
I first want to say thank you guys for all coming out tonight.
Oh my God,
really
yes, thank you all so much.
I think it starts with osmosis, right? Like immersing yourself with your subject. And with Stan, I read everything, I watched everything, I started playing tennis obsessively.
Are you any good?
No. But I was trying to pick up some game from Stan, which was a kind of a benefit of doing this project.
Did you guys get to play together?
We did.
Oh, wow.
So that was cool. Like on his off day, I mean, we worked him. You know, these were like hard days, and he was sick. And he, even on his off day, he was like, you want to play? You want to hit? And that's just a testament to this man. You know, like I feel so fortunate, as an aside, to just have gotten to know the man and become his friend and his family and Margie and all the kids and everything.
Well, you have some potential. You know, I like to hit with people that have potential. I have told him that when he is playing, he's not playing well, not to mention my name.
That's right. No name dropping. But to answer your question, yeah, it's immersion and just really leading with curiosity and making sure, you know, there's fidelity in the story. You can't go into it with such a tight preconceived notion of what the story is. You have an idea, but then, you know, like even through the process of making the film, it was so clear how important Margie is to the story, right? You know, Stan.
That's true.
She became the B story. And, but, you know, clearly Stan started out with not a huge support system family-wise, and he found his chosen family, you know, through the course of tennis, and I thought that was beautiful. And also it's a story about this obsessed athlete who, you know, sort of stumbled upon his own humanity. And it's about our shared humanity, right? The shoe, tennis, and that's, I think, important, because if we can build bridges versus defining ourselves, I think we'll be better off. And I think Stan's a living example of that. So yeah, it's just being open and leading with curiosity, I think. And from there, it just kind of, you know, took shape.
Yeah, that's very smart. There's a beautiful parallel that I don't know if anyone else noticed it. I certainly did the first time I watched the movie. A visual parallel that I want to hear you talk about a little bit. At the beginning of the movie, we have Stan. He's talking about how much he wants to be a tennis player very badly, and he's hitting that ball against his garage door. He's just hitting it. Then we meet Mark at the end of the movie, Similarly, he wants to be, being a good tennis player is going to change everything for him. And we see that ball, and now it's against that brick wall. Tell me a little bit about how that visual parallel came together. That was really striking to me.
You know, I got to give a lot of respect and credit to Kelsey, who edited the film. You know, you should stand up, Kelsey, because you're a brilliant filmmaker, and same with Cyrus Melchior, who is a composer, who really kind of brought the emotion. To answer your question, it just, you know, we saw the parallel between Mark and Stan, right? And there was an obsession. And if anyone plays tennis here, you realize it becomes an obsession. It's like really hard to put down.
Yeah.
The feeling you have when you step on the court. So that seemed like an obvious thing to do. And also the motif of like shadows, because the mystery behind Stan. So you might notice a bunch of shadows in the film. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm glad you picked up on that.
Yeah. It was wonderful. Phil, I heard a story. I'm not entirely sure I have this right, but that part of the original development of the film came about because of a video starring our man Stan here interviewing people on the street who were wearing Stan Smiths, asking them about the shoes, and then saying, "Do you know who Stan Smith is?" and them telling him to his face, "No." Can you tell us a little bit more about that, and then how this whole project came to be?
Ryan doing his research. I'd also like everyone to know my Gucci suit got lost by the airline, so apologies.
Yeah, if anyone has seen it.
Yeah. No, that's exactly it. My tennis career ended in high school. I was 11th on the roster. And Stan knows this, so to be completely honest, I did not know who Stan Smith, the tennis player, was, showing my age. Knew the shoe. Frankly, thought Stan Smith was someone who worked at Adidas, which we have found a lot of people think that. From this video, where they say to Stan's face they don't know who Stan Smith is. There's this gorgeous coffee table book that you should all pick up. Some people think I'm a shoe. Aaron Phillips, one of my friends, colleagues here. Yeah, he's here somewhere. Turned us on to it. And it was this crazy moment of realizing that this is a sneaker worn by every gender, age, race, socioeconomic group, sexual orientation. It doesn't matter. Everyone wears the shoe. And a lot of people don't know who is Stan Smith, hence the lovely title, which will be very clickable for anyone who wants to buy the film from this festival. And I think, oddly enough, the pandemic worked in our favor because we were able to get this man and Margie on a Zoom. It's like literally April 2020, which was crazy. And we're like, we don't know how we're going to make a movie right now, but wouldn't it be fun? And yeah, that video was really, and then when you start talking to people, everyone's like, wait, like, who is that? Is that the same person? You start to realize there is an amazing story here. And then, of course, you know, open the coffee table book. It's like the whole family. It looks like the Royal Tenenbaums, like on a, you know, tennis court. Chances are a family member is sitting next to you right now, by the way. And starting to learn about, you know, I think Carrie Champion nails some amazing things about Stan. Uninterrupted, which, you know, LeBron and Maverick created, really as an athlete empowerment brand, is to give athletes a platform. And our tagline is more than an athlete, which this man is clearly more than an athlete. So yeah.
100%.
I think Carrie Champion called you gangster, but truly to see what this man did for athlete rights, you know, boycotting Wimbledon, you know, just for race relations, and then just for being, again, more than, is incredible. And we're super honored that he entrusted us. We're super thankful for this man right here who got an incredible team together and pulled off what is just a beautiful film. And I think anyone, you know, I've now watched it way too many times. I still cry and laugh far too much. So yes, that was a very long answer to a video that you can see on YouTube.
It is on YouTube.
Yes,
Okay, I couldn't find it, but we'll have to pull it up.
I was set up for that. I was on the streets of New York, and I was asking people questions when they came by with the shoes, and it was pretty funny to see some responses. there were 2 little girls that were tennis players. They actually had done their history, and they knew, but not many did.
Yeah. Let's talk about that shoe, though, huh? Joe, I think when people think of sneaker culture, sometimes I think they make the mistake that it's flash, right? Crazy designs, lots of colors. Tell me how that, with its clean, plain, for lack of a better word, plain style, ends up at the center of sneaker culture for like 40 years.
Well, you said it, and the sneaker consumer is finicky. So for a classic silhouette to stand up for decades and decades, you know, there's stores in all these cities with thousands and thousands of SKUs, but for a shoe like that is so universally loved to stand up for, like I said, decades later, it's in the pantheon of like those 5 silhouettes that you can never go wrong with. And I think what I love about the film is like there's so many anecdotes. The thing that I loved, and Stan, we talked about this earlier, the dots on the upper, even me, I was like, oh, that's a cool like way to do the 3 stripes. The fact that it was technical, that he was sweating through on the court, I love the film because it's going to open up kids' eyes who wear these shoes day in and day out to all kind of these stories behind the design, and most importantly, the man behind the design. And with sneaker culture, what really helps is when a design is great and the story behind the shoe is great. So I think it's a testament to Stan, an amazing design. And like you said, flash, yeah, flash comes and goes, but classics always last.
That's you nailed it right there. Darryl, one of my favorite parts of the documentary is your part, where we're talking about, we're in the 80s, we're in New York City. You're talking about how rap is so versatile that you're bringing these white Manhattan Jewish kids and you guys from the Bronx together.
Right.
And the shoe and Adidas is at the center of that. So tell me a little bit more about how Adidas and the shoe was at the core of this incredible melting of cultures that happened.
Well, first of all, the reason why that sneaker is so iconic is it doesn't matter what you do in life, and I speak to a lot of artists, musicians, whatever, simple is always better. It's something that everybody can relate to. So for that sneaker, the hip-hop culture was all about presentation and representation. And you could liken it to, especially for us kids who are all of us in here are products of pop culture. I sit here before you, yes, some rock and roll, yes, some hip-hop, yes, some the 80s, but I'm also Fred Flintstone, the Jetsons, the Addams Family, the Brady Bunch. Everything in pop culture is a part of you. So for us, what the sneaker represented was, it was like, some of you OGs would understand, when we used to collect Hot Wheels. You know, for us growing up, it was all, it was skateboards and bikes. When we were younger, our mothers and fathers and our aunts and uncles, we would sit there as young kids and hear how the grown-ups would talk about their cars. So everything that deals with culture is always about motion. Think about it. We had bikes, we didn't have cars, and the kids without the bikes, we had the sneakers. It was always about movement. Where can we go? What was the experience? So the Stan Smiths, it was Stan Smith. It was the Shell Toes, not Superstars. It was the Shell Toes.
I got the Superstars.
It was the Pumas. It was the Puma Clydes, and it was the Pro Kids, the 69ers, and the Pro Kids with the red and blue stripes. But it was also the Chucks and the Converse. But there was something about Adidas that stood out about everybody else. There was an appeal, especially in the streets of New York. Pumas was cool, but the leather Stan Smiths and the leather Shell Toes was about perseverance and durability. So there was also an economic aspect to it, too. The Stan Smith and the Shell Toes are going to last longer than those Pumas. Think about it. Remember the Pumas back in the days? You could have a brand new one, in about 3 weeks, they're going to start to wrinkle and crinkle. So, yeah, right. You know what I'm saying? So the Stan Smith and Adidas, there was just something about Adidas that it was just more about durability and dominance. And for a kid like me, the reason why the superstar was so important, I didn't have money to get the red ones and the white ones. So if I got one pair of Adidas, I couldn't play no basketball in them. And the Stan Smiths too. You got to get those. You can keep them for 3 to 4 years if you ain't running, playing tag, playing, basketball and stuff like that. So it was a representation about what the people within our culture were actually going through. And then on the other side of it, economics had a lot to do with it. The typical breakdancer and the b-boy and the drug dealer and the stick-up kid, we was rocking the superstars. But the funny thing about it, when the drug dealers and the stick-up kids and the guys that were robbing houses and stuff like that got money, for example, the drug dealers that had Benzes and Rolls Royces, they wasn't rocking, they were still rocking the shell toes and their daytime gear. But when they moved up and they started looking like they were from Hollywood and from the Hamptons, these young brothers and sisters, they would put on like a tennis suit with the big old chains. They take off the Kango, they would take off the Adidas suit, and they would actually put on a tennis suit, and they would rock the Stan Smiths. So Stan Smith was in a higher class of the Adidas representation.
Like a level up, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? When you're walking down the street, you got your tennis suit on, and you got your gold chain, and you got your Benz and stuff like that. And the other kids, they were still on their bikes, they were still on their motorcycles, and the breakdancers and the b-boys and the MCs and the DJs, we all had on our superstars. So when we saw somebody in Stan Smith's, we knew two things. Okay, they must got some loot, or it was like the younger kids wasn't really rocking the Stans, but it was like maybe the seniors in high schools, the college kids. It was like the elders of our culture and the elders on the representation of style and the mature ones.
Maturity, yeah.
And even the young 16-year-old dude, he's coming out to tomorrow and he got on the Stan Smiths, and you're trying to figure out why he ain't got on his superstars, or why he ain't got on his shell toes. And the basic thing, I'm fly today. This is my fly today.
I love that.
So it was a cultural representation that was going with the attitudes and emotions of our community.
Yeah. And
I just want to interject something here. Darryl is really responsible for a great resurgence. Adidas has done some fantastic marketing over the years, but Darryl wrote My Adidas without getting paid.
Yeah.
And then
Yes.
Yeah.
And then
Well, let me ask that question. How many in here think Run DMC should have a lifetime deal with Adidas too? Put your hands up.
I think there might be some Adidas people in here, right? Yeah.
We should. We're part of that family. And let me just add this. Adidas, and you got to understand what Stan did. And then when Run DMC came along, what we did is so much bigger than just Adidas and Run DMC. What we did, it means something to people. When you see the 3 stripes, especially Run DMC, when you see those 3 stripes, you know you're going to get integrity, togetherness, positivity, and all of that. So what Adidas was doing what we were doing with Adidas for the hip-hop culture was so much deeper than the project. And I can say this. The reason why Run DMC was able to get that, because we were good. And the reason why Stan does what he does is because he's good. Goodness, negativity is a false sense of power. We took, like Ice-T always says about us and Stan, we took positivity, and like Kerry said, we made it gangster.
Oh yeah. Stan, you wanted to add one more thing before we wrap up?
I just wanted to say what Darryl did was fantastic for our culture, and he's been so dynamic for Adidas. I mean, I'm going to talk to you know what? I'm going to introduce you to Donald Dell.
Hey, that's the man right there. There you go. Hey, thank you all so very, very much for joining us tonight. I think that's a wonderful place to wrap up. Phil, Danny, Joe, Darryl, and Stan Smith, thank you all so much for being here. I've been asked by the venue to ask you to clear out cordially but quickly, because there is another screening that has to happen.
Let me
But
just
thank you
say,
all.
let me
Thank
just
you
say
so much.
thank you for coming out, and I appreciate you supporting this, and I appreciate all the panelists as well, and particularly my family for being here.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much.